PM expresses trust in King's judgment. "23 clusters caused by Sabah travellers." Welcome to News at 10. I'm Brendan Lipol. PKR President Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim presented to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong only the number of MPs he claimed to be backing him and not the list of their names to strengthen his claim. Istana Negara Comptroller of the Royal Household, Datuk Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin said Datuk Seri Anwar presented the number during the opposition leader's audience with the King, Al-Sultan Abdullah Rayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah at Istana Negara early today. In view of this, Datuk Ahmad Fadil in a statement said Al-Sultan Abdullah advised Datuk Seri Anwar to abide by and respect the legal process as enshrined in the Federal Constitution. Datuk Seri Anwar, at a press conference after his audience with the King, said he had presented to His Majesty documents authenticating the support he has from more than 120 MPs in the 222-seat Dewan Rakyat. According to Datuk Ahmad Fadil, the audience was originally scheduled for the 22nd of September, but because of ill health, His Majesty had to undergo treatment at the National Heart Institute from the 21st of September to the 3rd of October. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin trusts that the King will respond wisely to Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's claims of having enough support to form the government. In a press conference with journalists from local media organisations, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said he did not want to comment further about Datuk Seri Anwar's meeting with Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah Rayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, which took place this afternoon at the Istana Negara. He said he will leave it to the King's best judgment as whatever decision he makes will be in accordance with the Federal Constitution. The Prime Minister also said he did not follow developments about Datuk Seri Anwar's claims, adding that his main job now is to manage the COVID-19 situation as well as the people and the economy.
Sebab itu saya cuma nak jelaskan sini bahawa media adalah satu pada perkara yang saya berikan perhatian utama supaya dalam tempoh yang agak kritikal ni kita tidak orang kata mengalih pandangan kita pada isu-isu lain. Walaupun ramai di sini berminat nak bertanya soalan-soalan berkaitan dengan politik sejak dulu lagi, saya tidak bersedia untuk menjawab. Kerana itu bukan kerana saya tak tahu nak menjawab, hanya kerana saya nak menunjukkan supaya apa saja kenyataan yang saya keluarkan nanti rakyat tidak berkata bahawa Perdana Menteri sibuk dengan politik dan lupa akan perkara yang lebih utama ialah soal kebajikan rakyat, keselamatan jiwa mereka, apalagi soal ekonomi.
On another matter, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the 2021 budget to be tabled on the 6th of November will be centred on four main thrusts, including targeted support for economic vulnerable groups during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister said many groups had been affected even though the government had provided various stimulus packages amounting to almost 300 billion ringgit. According to Tan Sri Muhyiddin, the thrusts were aimed at preventing the B40 group from falling into poverty by providing a strong safety net.
Dan ini akan kita tumpukan pada tiga tonggak utama, three main pillars, iaitu pertama ialah memperkasakan rakyat, menyokong perniagaan dan juga untuk kita terus memperkukuhkan ekonomi kita. Ini ialah di samping kita nak memastikan agar kesihatan awam dan sokongan buat Barisan Hadapan ini yang telah pun kita lakukan selama ini dapat kita teruskan. Iaitu termasuk antara lain sokongan yang bersasar untuk golongan yang mudah terjejas. I think ini berita yang agak menarik dan juga diminati Apapun peruntukan dalam lanjawan, antara lain yang pentinglah nak melihat golongan mudah terjejas. Dan saya kira dalam tempoh COVID ini saja sudah ramai yang telah terjejas.
As for the second thrust, he said the budget will focus on supporting industries through specific incentives once recovery measures are implemented. The other core thrusts include empowering service delivery and developing sustainable living. Malaysia confirmed 660 new COVID-19 infections today, the second highest daily case figure since the outbreak began. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said out of the 660 cases, 443 cases were recorded in Sabah alone. Selangor recorded 76 cases, Kedah saw 60 new cases, while Penang has 23 cases. However, Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham said the country also recorded the highest daily recovery rate at 350 cases, bringing the total number of recoveries to 11,372, or 67.4% of the total cases.
Ini menjadikan jumlah kes positif COVID-19 di Malaysia adalah sebanyak 16,880 kes. Oleh itu, jumlah kes aktif dengan keboleh jangkitan COVID-19 adalah meningkat kepada 5,345 kes. Kesemua mereka telah pun diasingkan dan diberi rawatan di hospital. Ingin dimaklumkan, daripada 660 kes baru yang telah dilaporkan hari ini, terdapat 2 kes import yang telah mendapat jangkitan dari luar negara yang melibatkan 2 bukan warga negara.
4 fatalities were also reported today, which means the COVID-19 death toll in the country has gone up to 163 cases, or 0.97% of the total cases. Currently, 101 people are being treated at intensive care units, with 32 of them requiring ventilator support. Meanwhile, Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham also revealed that a total of 23 COVID-19 clusters were caused nationwide by index cases who had a history of travelling to Sabah. He said the numbers represent the total amount of clusters detected from travellers leaving the state since the 22nd of September, with a total of 394 positive cases detected to date from the 18,478 individuals tested.
Walaupun Kementerian Kesihatan telah melaksanakan saringan COVID-19 kepada semua pengunjung dari Sabah sejak 27 September 2020 dan mengeluarkan perintah pengawasan pemerhatian di rumah sehingga keputusan ujian negatif dimaklumkan, kes dan kluster berkaitan kelompok ini masih terus dilaporkan.
Additionally, the Health Director General also announced that 6 new clusters were detected over the last 24 hours, 4 in Sabah and 1 each in Selangor and Penang, with a total of 70 currently active clusters nationwide. The Samara and Sabindo clusters in Tawau, Sabah have detected 14 new positive cases each, with a number of individuals still awaiting their results. The Bina cluster in Beaufort, Sabah has identified 14 positive cases. A total of 19 individuals tested positive for the virus have been detected in the Bestari cluster in Sandakan. Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham also said that 18 individuals have been detected with the disease in the Bah Kenangan cluster in Hulu Langat, Selangor. He added that 3 individuals have been detected with the disease in the Penjara Jawi cluster in Penang, with all of them not showing any symptoms. China has agreed to list Malaysia as a priority recipient of the China-produced COVID-19 vaccine once it's successfully developed. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein announced this in a joint news conference after the bilateral meeting with his visiting Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in the nation's capital today.
We welcome and appreciate China's commitment in providing Malaysia with the Chinese-produced COVID-19 vaccines once successfully developed, and also thank you for listing Malaysia as a priority recipient. We also welcome China's agreement to encourage Chinese enterprises to establish all-round cooperation with Malaysian partners in vaccine research and development and distribution.
Elaborating further, Datuk Sri Hishamuddin said Malaysia is also monitoring closely the development of the vaccine, adding that getting the vaccine is a matter of high priority of the government. He said China has announced the vaccine is now being developed in the country and could be ready for use by the general public as early by November. On the same note, Wang said China is making good progress on the development of the COVID-19 vaccines, adding that China stands ready to provide its vaccines to other countries. He said out of the 8 vaccines that are currently under phase 3 clinical trials, 4 are being developed by China. Wang, who is also China's state councillor, is currently on an official visit to several ASEAN countries. The Conditional Movement Control Order CMCO in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya, which will be enforced for 2 weeks from midnight tonight, will see dine-ins permitted. However, Senior Minister Security Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said only 2 people would be allowed per table. Speaking in a press conference that was streamed live this afternoon, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said businesses are allowed to operate from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. during the CMCO period. This also applies to restaurants, food trucks, eateries and grocery stores, among others.
Walau bagaimanapun, bagi mengawal dan untuk memastikan pematuhan SOP, pasar tani dan pasar malam, yang pertamanya perlu pengawasan daripada anggota rela. Jadi anggota rela akan memantau dari segi SOP, dari segi pematuhan SOP, kerana seperti kita tahu apabila pasar tani dan pasar malam dibenarkan, pihak kerajaan telah pun menyediakan SOP yang amat ketat.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri meanwhile encouraged restaurants and eateries to promote takeaways, drive-through and home delivery options within the EMCO areas. Coming up, Batu Sapi by-election set on the 5th of December. The Kuala Lumpur High Court today ordered the removal of 8 paragraphs of an investigating officer's IO written witness statement, which formed an opinion on former Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi's criminal breach of trust and money laundering case. The 8 paragraphs in the statement made by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC), IO Fairul Rafiq Hamiruddin touch on cheques totaling 2 million ringgit received by Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid. Justice Lawrence directed that similar statements by 7 other IOs in the case be also expunged. The judge made the decision after hearing submissions from Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid's lawyers, led by Hisham Teh Tek, who had argued that the 8 paragraphs amounted to an opinion and were prejudicial evidence against the former Deputy Premier. Deputy Public Prosecutor DPP Datuk Raja Rosella Raja Toran, assisted by DPPs Ahmad Sazili Abdul Khairi and Lee Keng Fat, however, submitted that such evidence was not hearsay and based on the evidence from the documents they had collected. Justice Sequeira, in ordering the 8 paragraphs to be expunged from Fairul's witness statement, said it is for the court alone to draw an opinion based on the evidence of the IO, and the court rules that these paragraphs prejudice the accused. Besides Fairul, there are 7 other IOs in Ahmad Zahid's case. The former Deputy Premier is facing 47 charges, 12 for criminal breach of trust, 8 for corruption and 27 for money laundering, involving tens of millions of ringgits in funds belonging to charitable foundation Yayasan Akal Budi. The Election Commission (EC) has set the date for the polling for Batu Sapi by-election on the 5th of December. In a press conference in Putrajaya today, EC Chairman Dato' Abdul Ghani Saleh said the nomination will be on the 23rd of November, while the early voting on the 1st of December.
Pusat penamaan calon dan pusat penjumlahan rasmi undi adalah di Auditorium Ibu Pejabat Jabatan Perhutanan Sabah, Sandakan. Manakala pusat pengiraan undi awal dan pusat pengiraan undi pos adalah di Dewan Jati Ibu Pejabat Jabatan Perhutanan Sabah di Sandakan.
According to Dato' Abdul Ghani, Sandakan Municipal Council Deputy President Farida Gyao has been appointed as a returning officer for the by-election, and she will be assisted by 5 assistant returning officers. He said the Batu Sapi parliamentary by-election will cost about 6 million ringgit and involve 837 workers and 13 polling centres with 67 polling channels. Batu Sapi has 32,962 normal voters, comprising 31,152 normal voters, 672 military personnel and their spouses, and 1,138 police personnel and their spouses. The by-election is being called following the death of its incumbent Dato' Liu Vui Kiong of lung infection on the 2nd of October. Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri also said that mosques in CMCO areas will be allowed to conduct prayers during the period. However, the congregation will be limited to only 6 people, who will be decided by the Imam and Mosque Committee.
Walau bagaimanapun, seperti kita tahu, hal agama, hal-hal yang berkaitan dengan agama adalah di bawah kerajaan negeri dan juga di bawah Kebawah-Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sultan di setiap negeri. Oleh itu, cadangan dan juga kalau di wilayah persekutuan di bawah Majlis Agama ataupun JAKIM, dan ianya di bawah kuasa yang di-Persekutuan Kebawah-Duli Yang Maha Mulia yang di-Persekutuan Agong. Oleh itu, cadangan ini akan dibawa kepada JAKIM dan pihak berkuasa agama negeri Selangor untuk dipersembahkan kepada Kebawah-Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sri Paduka Baginda yang di-Persekutuan Agong dan Kebawah-Duli Yang Maha Mulia Sultan Selangor untuk perkenan. Keputusan lanjut akan diumumkan oleh JAKIM dan pihak berkuasa agama negeri Selangor dalam waktu terdekat.
The senior minister said this also applies to other houses of worship where only a maximum of 6 people, including its staff, would be allowed to conduct the prayers. Meanwhile, Dato' Abdul Ghani said the EC will not allow any visits or walkabouts by candidates or their supporters during the campaign for the Batu Sapi by-election. Instead, he said the candidates could campaign online or through their social media platforms or by distributing pamphlet via postal mail so as to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Amalan ataupun jarak sosial ni agak sukar untuk diamalkan. Yang ini kita lihat sebagai salah satu punca mudahnya wabak ini merebak. Jadi dengan cara itu SPR mencadangkan satu pendekatan baru. Tidak ada kempen secara terbuka lagi. Hanya kempen di alam maya, melalui handphone, melalui sosial media yang ada, yang tuan-tuan perempuan pun sedia faham. Jadi dengan cara ini tidak ada lagi eye to eye contact kita dengan masyarakat di luar.
The EC chairman added that the commission had also prepared COVID-19 prevention guidelines for the implementation of election in line with the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988 or Act 342. Prior to this, Dato' Abdul Ghani was reported as saying that the Batu Sapi parliamentary by-election needs to be called as enshrined in the federal constitution and could only be postponed if the government declared a state of emergency in the area. Police in Pulau Pinang today has safely detonated what is believed to be a Second World War bomb, the third found in the island state. A routine workday for 3 employees at the seawall upgrading project at Padang Kota Lama Esplanade turned awry when the discovery was made at about 3:30 p.m. today. Alarmed at the finding, a bomb disposal unit of the Royal Malaysia Police, which was called, successfully detonated the ordnance. Timor Laut District Police Chief ACP Sofian Sanchong confirmed that the bomb, upon discovery, was still active. Last month, just a few days after an old bomb was found, another was discovered in the compound of a kampung house in Permatang Berangan on the state mainland. On the 27th of September, an object which is believed to be a World War II mortar shell covered in earth was found near the Esplanade seawall where digging works were being carried out. Then another shell similarly caked in dirt was found in a villager at the compound of a rented house at about 5 p.m. after a storm the following day. EU countries agreed on common criteria to coordinate travel restrictions. That and more coming up in our foreign segment. The government of Bangladesh has introduced the death penalty for rape after days of protests sparked by a string of sexual assaults. Demonstrations have broken out across the country after harrowing footage of a group of men stripping and attacking a woman went viral on social media. The clip sparked outrage in a South Asian country where activists say only a tiny percentage of sexual assault victims see justice. Justice Minister Anisul Huq said the law will be put into effect by the president on Tuesday. Previously, the maximum punishment for rape was life imprisonment. National anger over the issue has been simmering since last month when members of the ruling party's student wing were arrested and charged in a separate gang rape case. Protesters in the capital Dhaka and elsewhere have demanded stiffer punishments for rape, faster trials for rapists, and an end to what they see as a culture of impunity. Some have also called for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation, an unusual show of public defiance in a country where open criticism of the Premier has become increasingly rare. Rallies continued on Monday in central Dhaka despite heavy monsoon rains, with hundreds of people condemning the recent arrest of student leaders by authorities attempting to suppress the protests. More than 3 million swabs have been taken in a matter of days in Qingdao, the Chinese port city where a minor coronavirus outbreak elicited a sweeping health response. Queues for testing stretched deep into Monday night across the eastern city, which detected 6 virus cases the day before, but swiftly swung into action to head off a wider outbreak. Qingdao's Health Commission in a statement said about 3.08 million samples has been taken for nucleic testing, with 1.11 million results received. In addition to 6 people with symptoms, there are 6 asymptomatic cases have been detected so far. The city declared it aims to test its entire population, around 9.4 million, within 5 days of the detection of the first cases at a hospital on Sunday. It was not immediately clear how fast results could be processed, although China has paraded its rapid testing capacities during previous minor outbreaks. China's ruling Communist Party is desperate to show its ability to manage the pandemic to its citizens, as well as to foreign audiences after it emerged in the central city of Wuhan. The country has bounced back since the virus emerged late last year and forced widespread lockdowns that hammered the world's second largest economy. China is also working to be the first nation to produce a coronavirus vaccine, with several companies in final stage trials. European Union countries have agreed on common criteria to coordinate coronavirus travel restrictions in an effort to end the confusing patchwork of national rules that have developed during the pandemic. Ministers from the 27 countries agreed the new guidelines at a meeting in Luxembourg, putting in place a common mapping system to define risk areas in the EU. But the new recommendations are not binding on member states. Under the plan, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control will publish a weekly map of the EU using a traffic light colour system to indicate the level of risk in each area. Levels will be determined by a variety of epidemiological factors, including new virus cases per 100,000 population in the preceding 14 days and the level of positive tests. Travellers coming from a red, orange or grey zone could be required to quarantine or take a test for COVID-19, while those coming from a green zone would not face any measures. The plans also include exceptions for people doing essential jobs, as well as a common contact tracing form for travelers. Europe, which has seen more than 6.5 million cases of COVID-19 and 240,000 deaths, is battling to contain a second wave of the pandemic. Coming up in sports, Colombia aiming for victory in tough qualifier against Chile. Argentina coach Lionel Scaloni described Bolivia as one of the best teams in the World Cup when they play at the punishing altitude of La Paz. Now, the thin air of La Paz has felt many visitors, and Argentina have not won in Bolivia since 2005. The two-time world champions were beaten 2-0 in Bolivia in 2017 and were hammered 6-1 by the Andean side in the 2010 World Cup qualifiers, also at altitude.
Que la dificultad es máxima, que jugamos contra una selección que acá es de las mejores del mundo, que pierde poquísimo, entonces eso es importante que el jugador salga a la cancha sabiendo eso. Eso te saca a la cancha mucho más concentrado, sabiendo de que es una selección muy potente. Y bueno, recuerdo otra vez lo que dije antes de cuando ganamos nosotros, de la manera de preparar el partido, que jugamos de una manera muy inteligente, sabiendo que había momentos que había que aprovechar y que ellos iban a atacar.
Bolivia were thrashed 5-0 in Brazil last week, but they rested some players in anticipation of facing Argentina in another South American World Cup qualifier, and Scaloni said his team, who are unbeaten since the 2018 Copa America, will need to be at their best to play at 3,640 meters or 11,940 feet above sea level. The Bolivians have qualified for the World Cup finals only once in 1994, and they finished second last in the 10-team South American group last time around. Argentina beat Ecuador 1-0 last week, one of 4 teams to record a win in the opening round of matches. Meanwhile, Colombia's national soccer team hit the training field in Santiago ahead of a World Cup qualifying match against Chile. Chile has a lot to prove in their upcoming match against Colombia following their loss against Uruguay in a frustrating 2-1 loss. Colombia managed to score 3 goals in a superb first half to beat Venezuela 3-0 and get their 2022 World Cup qualifying campaign off to an impressive start. The top 4 teams in the 10-team South American group qualify automatically for the finals in Qatar in 2022, and the 5th place side will go into an inter-regional playoff. Colombia and Chile are set to face each other in Santiago in the second match of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. That concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, PM expresses trust in King's judgment. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. Till then, I'm Brendan Lepal. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.